Hello and welcome to the Questionable Album Club, the podcast where this beautiful panel of music fans, we say experts, we change it to fans, attempt to blow the dust off some of rock's music's curios, failures, and generally perceived missteps. Before we introduce the panel, who are looking gorgeous this evening, I'm just going to go through our top 10. I'm not going to hold it up. I'm just going to list our top 10 from top 10 down to 1 on this very strange, our own versions of the greatest things we've listened to in this context. So number 10 is Joni Mitchell's Dog Eat Dog. Number 9 is Motorhead's Manticore Tapes. Number 8, Grind Man 2. Number 7 is Slayer, God Hates Us All. Number 6, Van Halen 3. Number 5, The Rolling Stones, Satanic Majesty's Request. Number 4, Yes, Drama. Number 3, The Doors, The Soft Parade. Number 2, The Happy Mondays, Yes Please. That was number 1 for ages and relatively recently usurped by Rick Wakeman's Six Wives of Henry VIII, which scored a grand total of 69.8. So that's the one to beat today. Today it might happen, might not happen. On the panel today, we've got Ross English. Hello, Ross.
Good evening, everybody.
We've got Steve Hackett. Hi, Steve.
Hi there.
We've got Steve Gibson. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
And we've got Marcus Kingway. Hi, Marcus.
Hello.
Marcus, it was your choice today. We are the record we're talking about today is chosen by you. We're just going to keep saying it was chosen by you. Wilder Mind, the third album from English, I don't know what you call them, Tory folk indie band Mumford Sons from 2015. It was number 1 in the US, number 1 in the UK. It delivered 5 singles. This was the first album. I suppose first of all they were kind of seen as a sort of they were kind of a folk band, folk in inverted commas, and this was the one where they decided to ditch the banjo, get a drummer, and just go. You know, like everyone does at this stage, like just go for where the Coldplay money is. So, Marcus, do you want to explain to us why you chose this? Because last time I was going to take a vote on this whether this is eligible, right? Because sorry, I'm talking a lot here. I'm going to stop talking very soon. But the whole point of this podcast is that we talk about questionable albums. So that's why we've chosen often relatively suspect albums from major artists' careers, like the Dog Eat Dog by Joni Mitchell or Da Da by Alice Cooper. And my question about this, like when we questioned the Lee Scratch Perry with the doom metal band that turned out not to be a doom metal band, is Marcus? I don't think I will put it to the vote because I fear we won't have an episode if I do put it to the vote. But Marcus, can you just justify this being questionable? Because to me, how is it questionable? They're just shit, right?
Wow, cool. That's what a great opening question, Seb. I think it's questionable on a number of levels here, actually. First of all, the huge commercial success from this band.
That's not the point, mate. Westlife, a huge commercial. We don't choose Westlife.
Just let me say a whole sentence here, mate. Come on. So there's millions of people, literally millions of people, who think this band are great and actually think this album is great. This sold by the bucket load. So the public vote is with this band, but the questionable angle comes in when you look at the critics' scores. On Metacritic.
That's
something
Friday,
like
mate.
54 out of 1. Yeah, something like 54 out of 100 according to Wikipedia, which is low. And there were some absolute drubbings by major journalists on this one. Pitchfork loathed it. NME, I think, trashed it. And others thought it was fantastic. So there is a massive question mark over this album. Some might say it's the Bob Dylan goes electric kind of moment where the folk roots have been abandoned and the electric guitars come out on stage. I was imagining the yells of Judas from the sensible mums and dads in the stadium arena with their disappointment that the banjos and the double bass and the accordions, all the rest of it have gone, and they've gone for this harder. In fact, some of the critics have said heavier sound, their heaviest album to date. So there's a question mark over this album from the critics really rather than the public, and I thought that would be really fitting. But that wasn't really my reason for choosing it. It was because I knew that several people on here hold folk music dear to their hearts, and I knew you'd absolutely loathe the prospect of listening to this. So I just wanted to chuck it in like some awful pop folk hand grenade, or maybe not awful, to anger everybody. And judging by the swear words that I was called on the chat after this, I think it hit a chord. So I was quite pleased about that, even before anyone had listened to a single note. So that's my justification for its questionable nature. It was questioned by the critics, if not by the public.
Marcus, I think that was a valiant response, mate. I think your work here is done. I think you've justified it quite well. I think you've the fessing up about basically trolling a bunch of us it is valid, and I think that's good. I think we can now continue with the episode.
Excellent. Well, I'll say a little bit more about this. They're not my
please.
They're not my they're not my taste at all. They came out. They had these big pop songs that I will give them this. They were catchy. They were big tunes. They're anthemic.
Which ones did you like, Marcus? Of those ones?
No, I'm talking about generically with the band when they had their hit singles in sort of like 2008, 9, something like that. I don't know what the singles were called, but I just was aware of them being around and a lot being written about the band. And they brought in instrumentation that was not in the charts at the time. So for that, a little tip of the hat, I think it gave them an angle, something to listen to. But
what sort of instrumentation?
I think there was a banjo, certainly. There was some kind of folky non-drum kit drums. I don't really know, to be honest. It was all being played back then in the late 2000s, and I was aware that it was a thing going on, but it didn't really push my buttons, But I just thought, well, okay, it's a pop group. They've got a bit of an angle. They've got some big rousing choruses. That's fine. I'm not going to get cross about it. It's just it's not for me. So where does that take us? So I've never listened to an entire album of theirs before about 3 or 4 days ago, which was this one album. I settled into it. I must admit, with a fair amount of prejudice. I didn't expect to have a good time listening to this record. And
Marcus, I'm going to leave you there, right? Because we've had a lot. We're just going to pause you for a second, and we're going to come back to you. See if I know you're a massive fan of the first two Mumford's albums. Let's call them Mumfords. When you heard them without the banjo and the kick drum, you must have been
hey with the Mumfords. Well, I've no history with them musically at all. But
how about politically?
Well, that's a different matter for another podcast. But
no, it's not. It's for this one as well.
I found a poster from because first time I came across them was 2009. It says up there on this poster when I was to End of the Road Festival, as I am most years, and I'm just at the bar with my mates, and you're looking around and checking out the people who are there, and End of the Road. Whereas it's not latitude or wilderness or anything, it's got its fair share of the, sort of the, what would you call them without being rude? Just middle class kids, basically. Let's call it that. My kids are the same. But this year, they're all wearing fucking wax jackets and flat caps, corduroys and everything. I mean, loads of them, absolutely loads of them. It's obviously this phenomenon going on, which is fine, kids and fashion and everything. I was at the bar and there was one that behind me, and he didn't seem like a particularly, posh kid at all or whatever. And I just said, well, what's the deal with all of this club, with the hunting and shooting thing? Why is everyone? And he goes, oh, it's Mumford and Sons. So we're all Mumford and Sons fans, and they're playing, and there you go. And it's okay, fine. So curiosity piqued, I saw peeled off, and I thought I have to go and have a look at this. This is crazy, And I went into the stage when they were on, and they're on stage wearing pretty much the same gear, and there's just this sea of corduroy lapels going up and down, and the kids are just absolutely loving it. I mean, they were loving it, and they were in. I don't know whether that was the start of the career. I guess it is. And they were, they were hammering along with the whole banjo folk thing. And I mean, it's, I was there for 10 minutes. They played their big single, the little Lion King thing, and the whole place was just going nuts. It was crazy, which is a good thing, yeah. Loads of kids are enjoying it. I mean, it's not for me. I walked away, and that was me and them done. I haven't come across them since now. and listen to this new album. I don't know any of their music at all. I had another go at the greatest hits. And I got about halfway through it. That single,
Steve,
yeah,
it's not Little Lion King, mate. It's Little Lion Man.
Just going to say it's Little Lion Man.
For fuck's sake!
On it. Who knew that? Yeah, who knew that? They've got an edge. Yeah, and that's sort of it, really. That's my only. I've got another Mumford & Sons anecdote, but I'll save that till later.
Well, everyone's got quite a lot to say about this. Ross, I presume in one of your, they must have played as a Brighton gig goer who goes to the Great Escape and watches like 700 live bands a year. You can't have escaped the Mumfords. Back in the glory days, right?
No, I haven't actually. I saw them play. They were headlining a festival in Lewes called Gentlemen of the Road, which I think they might have curated.
Yeah.
I only got to see half their set. It wasn't out of a fit of a peak. It was having a small child at the time and needed to make sure we got on the train back home, as you know, that nice middle class festival thing. I've got to relieve the babysitter. They were particularly uninspiring. I mean, they were doing the thing they did. I'm not. Some people can get really cross about Mumford and Sons, and it's just I don't find it interesting at all. I'm talking about the folk stuff here, and not this album yet. I don't find it interesting, particularly. I find it particularly uninspiring. It's almost. I don't want to talk about authenticity because I think that's a really loaded term in music. But when they're doing their Irish folk, it's almost ersatz. And it just didn't inspire me. But I mean, I wasn't going to get cross about it. I mean, the only thing that niggles me is I do go and see a lot of bands and I see a lot of folk. And I'm lucky enough to live near a couple of good folk venues. There's a beautiful little one called the Folklore Rooms in Brighton, which I go to a lot. And you see bands there and artists who are just brilliant, with brilliant musicians, brilliant songwriters. And you know that after their 2-week tour, they're going to go back to work because there's no money in this business anymore. And you see bands like Mumford, fairly mediocre and uninspiring. I'm assuming making a very good living out of this. And there's no point getting cross about the music industry. I mean, it forever has been thus. It's just as much about contacts and marketability as it is about talent. But, when they're headlining their own festival, then, some absolutely golden artists are needing you to buy stuff from the merch table so they can put petrol in their van to be able to get home. It's just like you think there's something rotten here. Well, I'm going to be a little bit cross about it. So I'm not going to blame Mumford & Sons for that. I mean, do what you have to do to do where you get to. But it's just, the imbalance sometimes when you look at these sort of, especially in the world of folk particularly, it just does my nutting. They are what they are. And it's never really done much for me.
Okay, so you said you weren't going to get angry, then you got a little bit angry.
Yeah.
Steve, you're next. How angry are you about this, Steve?
I'm not angry at all about the Mumfords. In fact, I feel a little bit sorry for them, to be honest with you, because this is the way I see it. When they came out, it was at the start of stream. I think first I'd like to give a shout out to Marcus for using the "eat shit, 10 zillion flies can't be wrong" argument at the start of this, which I thought I'd never have to hear again, but he's brought it up. Anyway, so when they came out, it was the start of sort of streaming and BBC iPlayer. And I was starting a business at the time and we were working a lot of hours. And what we used to do was stream the night radio, have it in the day because we thought it might be better. And when the Mumfords came out, they were liked. All the great and the good, all these old NME writers. I don't need to tell you their names. You know who I'm talking about. They liked them. And then I never did. I just didn't really like my cat, whatever. And then Jerry Damas slagged them off. And then all of a sudden there was a big Mumford's pile-on from all the great and the good. So I felt a little bit sorry for them. I mean, they did nothing to do, but I'm thinking if you're getting angry and you feel the need to sort of do a public pile-on about another band who, I mean, yeah, all right, they're successful, but they probably, they must have had a struggle at some point and given a lot up to get where they are, because you don't get anywhere if you don't. If you feel publicly the need to be triggered and slag off a band like that who were doing something pretty, sub Coldplay in the kind of innocuous states, might say more about you than them, is what I thought. And the other thing is that I'm a long-standing attendee, over 20 years until sadly this year, of the Cambridge Folk Festival. And that when they came around, there was a couple of younger bands you'd see who were kind of dressing like them. And as Steve Hackett said, there was a bit of phenomenon at the time. There was other younger bands, a bit more folky, but doing that sort of shtick. And at the end of the night at the Cambridge Folk Festival, there's a few tents there. People just turn up and sing songs. They sing old ballads. They sing. And what I love about folk music is it doesn't matter what I say, what any of you say, or what Martin McCarthy says or whatever. There's people would get up, young people would get up and sing a pop song. Oh shit, I don't know what else. And when I first time I heard that, I was expecting the folk police, two blokes with Aaron sweaters to come on and bundle them off, but they don't. And then over the period of the 20 years, some of those songs stick and they're still being sung, and major folk artists has recorded those songs and tunes, and some things don't. And I love that because it's genuinely a people's music at the end of the day. And what happened with the Mumfords was you had 1, maybe 2 years of seeing a bit of their shtick, and then it didn't stick. It sort of drifted away again with everything else. So it was a fad. But that's sort of around them. I mean, it's a bit like last week's album, really. As Simon said, it kind of occurred in a space of time, and it didn't affect. If you're getting triggered and upset by music like this, then really, just let them be. People don't really like music like this sort of music, and most people don't really like much music. They'll get into stuff like this. So I'll talk more about the actual album next time if you like. But
That's interesting about the early stuff not really cutting through as kind of folky standards, but it's early doors on that, surely, Steve. It takes at least 100 years, surely, for
no, not at all.
Not at all.
No. So over the 20 years, there's been some. I don't know what they are, but there's been. I saw young people get up and sing odd pop songs of the time that you'd still hear being sung 10 years later by other young people. But
I was being facetious. I think the closest we have these days is like Thunderstruck played with bagpipes is what you get.
Oh well, yeah, that's seeped into the piping repertoire sort of thing, So this is what, and it's kind of not up to anyone. This just happens, and it's a people's choice. But unfortunately for the Mumfords and the folk, well, it wasn't a people's choice because you can imagine at the Cambridge Folk Festival. I like to think of myself, and I'm sure others do here on this panel do, to know a bit about folk and enjoy folk music. But you talk to some of the people there, and you realise that there's a whole nother level to it of 17th century ballads that have had 3 words changed when they went to America and came back, and all this sort of thing, which is lovely and fascinating, and it's not told you in a smug rock and roll way, So, yeah, that's my experience with them anyway.
Very interesting. I think everyone's got really interesting things to say, much more in depth than I was anticipating for this. Marcus, when you with your ignorance, when you came to this, their Judas. The Mumford's Judas album, they embraced guitars and rock, and the critics kind of wobbled because of the lack of banjo and kick drum, and they kind of attempted to go for arenas as opposed to fucking tents with real ale. With that all out in mind, what did you, when you heard it, you probably listened to it a couple of times, what did you make of it?
It was actually exactly as I imagined it would sound. But I hadn't reckoned on it on being so much the same from one song to the next. It reminded me of the sort of filler on I don't know, Radio 2 or something like that, where it's just a song which is in the background and happens, and it's lost amongst all the other songs of that kind of mid-tempo, safe, modern take of adult-oriented rock. Apparently it's called AAA. I only found that out tonight, which was something like alternative album artists or something like that. It's an American term, and it's very, very broad. There's very little alternative about it, but it just fits in neatly now to the kind of, well, certainly the Coldplay genre and all the spin-offs of that have happened, that this look-alike, sound-alike. I was looking for something to hold on to from remembering those singles, or the big single about the Lion Man, wherever it was from years ago, which was big chorus, some interesting instrumentation, some folk instruments, whatever. But those interesting bits they've taken out. They've lost that instrumentation. So the sound is the same as a million other bands. And the guy's voice, he's just gone for that sort of mid-level pop rock voice, and it's not strong enough. It's not distinctive enough. And there was something on those big anthemic songs that gave it a bit of an edge, but here it's just it isn't really powerful enough. So we're ending up with something which is just very ordinary and uninspiring. So this is going to be much shorter for my intro piece. I'm kind of I did not have the awakening that I had. Let's say the Six Wives to Henry VIII, where I went into that with extreme prejudice, thinking I was going to loathe it, and I came out giving it probably the highest score I've ever. I was kind of had the little bit of me was thinking, is this going to be the time when I flip around with Mumford and Sons and they win me over? And there's something about this that's an undiscovered gem. It didn't happen for me. I was left neutral, the same as I went in. There was no hate of it. It didn't annoy me. It was just
so a glass
there,
of
and I went through the motion.
like a glass of room temperature water.
That's the one. You got it. It's between the fire and ice, as Spinal Tap would say.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. Steve Hackett, how hot is your water? How cool is your water? Where is your water? Is it ice or is it boiling water? What is it?
Tepid, I'd say. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, Marcus has said everything there is to say about this song. That AAA thing's really interesting. As I was thinking about that, and everyone mentions Coldplay, don't they? And you wouldn't have thought that. I mean, I'm presuming this band were selling shitloads,
Just to come in on their popularity, just to annoy Steve with the Flyers shit analogy, but they're playing the O2 next month.
Yeah,
two nights, right, at the O2. That's 40,000. If they sell out, I did a quick bit of maths. That's over 7 million quid coming in. So they've got something for some people. Whether that's 7 million people or 40,000 people with no taste, we could go down that avenue. But something's working for them. A band past their commercial peak are still pulling in vast numbers of crowds and money.
Yeah, but Marcus, it's music for people who don't like music.
They like it enough to spend their hard-earned cash on it. So there's something in there for others. It may not be for us. And I'm scratching around now, aren't I? Because there's no one here who's going to say we're in its favour. But
no, we might.
Something's going right.
I can see. We're barely halfway around yet. Sorry, actually, Hackett, I apologise. I interrupted your.
But just interesting why these albums are made, isn't it? I mean, it's some default setting, this indie anthem thing. They seem to be so easy to do, and Coldplay probably did it first. And to be fair to Mumford and Sons, I mean, they're not the worst of this lot either. There's a lot worse offenders than them.
Who's worse, Steve? Who's worse, off the top of your head?
Well, in this sort of AAA thing, as I now know it's called, I mean, I'm thinking about your Catfish and the Bottomans, your Blossoms, and your utterly talentless idiots. I mean, I wouldn't put them in that category. But everything, I mean, if you can write a song, you can write a song. And I'm sure some of their early songs were pretty good. A lot of people would have killed to have written Lion Man or something like that, But this whole album is just, as you say, it's just completely blanded out. It's press button. It's the indie anthem thing, isn't it? With the and I'll tell you another thing I've noticed. What they seem to people mention Coldplay, but a lot of these bands, I'm thinking Sam Fender as well, who again sells out the O2 all the time. War on Drugs. They've heard the War on Drugs albums, haven't they? You can absolutely tell with that driving drum sound, and the washes of, keyboard and a few chord changes. Do you not think someone or the producer or someone? But the question is, why would you sort of want to do that? Why would you want to sound like, every other band like that? I don't know.
I think the answer is because the other bands like that, like War on Drugs and Coldplay, they sell records by the million. I mean, I guess they got queued up on the folk thing, and it was like, right, here's to hear into the it's a cynical marketing decision, right? How are we going to take this from this to this?
Yeah,
and it's the accountants make the decision, isn't it? It's as simple as that, quite clearly.
Yeah.
What do we want to do, boys? Do we want to kind of, Ross? What was your take? As someone with a bit of history and a bit of with a Mumford and Sons T-shirt on, ostensibly. What are your thoughts when you hear this? And
should we play some of the "What does this album want trying to sound like" game a bit more? Because when I listen to it, I just every other track I was thinking, I know who they're trying to be. And I started writing them down. So like track 2, they're trying to be Coldplay, I think. Track 3 starts like the Silver Sun pickups and then goes into the beta band. Track 4 is Nada Surf. Track 6 is probably Counting Crows, and then in track 7 we're back to the Silver Sun pickups again. And the thing is, I like all of those bands.
Ross, were you genuinely able to listen to this with as much closeness and specificity to be able to make those analogies on a track by track basis?
I did it on a post-it note.
That's the most impressive thing for me. This is the miracle of this evening. The miracle of Christmas is Ross's to be able to pass this stuff down into actually something as opposed to just shit jelly.
Well, see, I really like those bands, and I was just thinking all the way through this. I should be a pushover here. I really.
Ross, can you go down your list? Have you got more than that?
No. Track 8 though says the first one that doesn't sound like something else. That's all. No, there was a few ones I couldn't. I mean, like the last track sounded like it should be from The Lion King. I mean, I sort of didn't bother with that. But I see my thing is I don't know why this isn't working for me, because they're like pushing all the buttons. But with and this album has sort of grown on me a little. But I've listened to it 6 times now. But by like to go 5 or 6, it grown on me to the extent that the first minute of each song had grown on me. But by about a minute and a half in, I'm ready to push the button onto the next song. It's like they're doing the things that I like, but without any great interest. They're not doing it well enough. And I think that's the problem. I think I said ersatz earlier when I was talking about the Irish folk. I think a lot of this is ersatz in that they know how they've worked out how to do this, but haven't really clicked what makes that stuff right.
So Ross, I'm interested in what you're saying here. So you've got parallels to some of these songs to certain other artists that you think they're perhaps copying or aping or whatever. Yeah, and it doesn't quite work. What if you were in the studio? Honest, genuine question. If you were theoretically in the studio with these guys as a kind of executive producer, and you were saying, okay, and a kind of Daniel Lanois situation, what would you say to the Mumfords to try and get that little extra factor to just really push it? What do you need? What's missing from this?
I think it may well be that they think that this is what they want to do and this is now them. But if it is actually more the fact that they're just trying to hit on things they've heard and they'd like to do, I think that they should go back and try and be Mumford and Sons again and do these songs as Mumford and Sons and not as Nada Surf. I think that's where it is.
Bring out the banjo, get rid of the drummer, just the kick drum.
Yeah. And if the banjo doesn't work on the track, get rid of it, but not try and be another band. I'm really reminded because when Steve Hackett was saying about asking why would they do this, and I think often it could be a commercial decision, but often bands when they've been around a little bit listen to something new and start thinking, oh, I'd like to be that. And I remember there being a interview, I think in Q magazine, with Phil Collins around about 1994, 1995, when he said explicitly, my next single is going to be much more Oasis. And I remember him then being on Top of the Pops wearing, I remember one of the Gibson E series probably, but using an up front with a guitar that was obviously meant to be like one of the ones that Noel Gallagher used. And he just thought,
what was the song, Ross? What was the song?
I can't remember. I wish I could. Can't remember. But all I remember is hearing it is thinking, but that sounds like Phil Collins. And that's the problem. When you're trying to jump on the next bandwagon, it's just too obvious. And they're not a band for us, but I think they should probably try and stay more true to what they were doing rather than this great big leap. So I don't know. Again, I think this is my favourite Mumford & Son album. I would have to say that because I've listened to their oeuvre these last 2 weeks. But it was just 2 of the tracks kept me interested for the duration. The tracks 7 and 8 were the 2 ones I could listen to all the way through and actually be listening and not just be itching to hit that button.
Ross, you've listened to, because of this, you listened to all the Mumford and Sons albums.
Yes.
And you listened to one six or so times, and this is your favourite of them.
Yeah, no, I've listened to this one about 6 times. All the others I've listened to just once, just to get
This is the best Mumford and Sons album.
for me. Yeah.
Okay, there's a thumbnail. Steve Gibson,
Yes. The album,
what are your thoughts on this record?
the album. Well, it just seemed to it's a bit like getting the train out of Tokyo with into a suburb with no break, any sort of green field or anything. It's just this continual, it just doesn't stop doing what it does. The same chords going round and round, the same song structures. I don't really understand. It's music. It's just music for people who don't really like music. That's what it is. It just exists. It doesn't, I mean, didn't trigger me. I think, as I said before, if you are triggered by this and the whole month is pile on, so unjustified because, scroll on, put it onto a shelf. They're not doing any harm. People who want to buy it will buy it and they'll play it at their dinner party, I guess, in their nice houses or whatever. And yeah, so what? But musically, it's devoid of any sort of interest. There's no, it's actually worse than momentary lapse of reason for being the same every song. You have a bit of a build up, the attempted anthemic chorus, which Marcus is right. The singing just doesn't calm down enough or get anthemic enough. He just does something in the mid range the whole way through. So it's just another bland, boring album that people will have, next to what other shit they have at that they feel safe they can put on. Or that, but the sad thing is, you might actually go to a dinner party and someone might excitedly put on this as being a bit woo. That's that would be.
I suppose it's like the grand lineage of this is like David Gray or James Blunt, right?
Yeah, I guess, just James Blunt. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that sort.
Like charity shop indie.
Yeah, it's just that sort of thing. So absolutely does absolutely nothing for me, but doesn't trigger me, doesn't, it just as Simon said last week, momentary lapse of reason, it just exists in a period of time and it means absolutely nothing to me. It never will. I do think Marcus may have to be banned for putting Ross through that for crimes against humanity. I think there's got to be some sort of penalty. And Ross, you probably won't have to buy a beer on the Christmas do after that. I mean, come on.
I think he's only just trying to up the number of artists called Marcus on this on this thing.
That's pretty much it for me on the music. Come back for my score and my favourite song.
Fucking hell, I forgot about favourite songs. Jesus Christ. Well, just funny because it's all about being triggered. I actually was triggered by this because I wouldn't have been if I hadn't had to listen to the whole thing. If I just heard like the first verse and chorus and the picture and piano, I could have just gone to the toilet and then made my excuses and left. But because you had to listen to the whole thing all the way through, I found this sincerely the hardest of everything we've ever done. The hardest to listen to all the way through. I just found it unbearable, almost like anti-music. I found it offensive. We talked about ersatz. It's almost pastiche. It's so cynical, so joyless. There's no dynamics. Nothing happens. It's not music. It's product. It's and we all know this. It's boring to kind of say it, but I just found the whole thing just miserable. I barely was able to listen to it once. I went for a walk. I always go for big walks to listen to these things. Listen to it a couple of times, put it on, make a note, listen to it. I got like about 4 songs through, and it was just fucking hell. And like took one earbud out and had the kind of nature going in the other ear, and it's like listening to, I don't know. Anyway, let's just go on to the scores. Marcus, we don't need to sum up. Just give me your numbers, man. Give me your numbers.
No, you want best song, don't you? Or do you want that?
Yeah, I want your number and your best song.
All right.
Well, I find my calculator. Hang on.
It's quite a close shootout really between two. Ditmas, because I watched the video, and it's a man on a horse interspersed with the band on stage. And it reminds me, do you remember those metal schools we used to get excited about, and what we still do really, on YouTube, they would, metal school, the YouTube
metal school,
thing, yeah. And the guy would always show a video, and he'd go, "Hey, the band are like fighting off some villains," and it cuts to them being on stage. It was kind of like that with this video, where there's a guy taming a horse, and then he gets the horse to do stunts, and he rides on his back, but it's alternated with the band on stage. So they've taken a style of like 30 years ago and then put it in this thing. So I thought that was kind of appealing in its own way. But actually, I'm going to go for Hot Gates, which and Ross will identify with this. You were trying to work out what the song sounded like, or they were trying to sound like. They're trying to sound like Mogwai. Listen to Hot Gates again. So I'm going to put that. I like Mogwai. I don't really like Hot Gates. It's just the pick of the bunch.
What sort of a title is Hot Gates? Hot Gates.
Gates, sexy gates. Yeah,
What does that mean?
attractive gates that are attractive.
Oh, I see.
Oh, is
So
that
kind of
like with
rural-
little spikes on top, that sort of thing? Yeah.
Agricultural sort of like.
The type of gate, Marcus, is up to you. That's subjective.
Right.
But
I like a 5-bar, to be honest, with a diagonal, and
me too.
they're the best.
Marcus, give me a number.
Oh,
Stop talking about
10.
fucking songs.
10.
10. Is that out of 10 or 100?
Out of 100, of course. There's only one way to score this.
Hack it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 10 as well. Can
So
I tell my other quick Mumford Sons anecdote? It's not very good. I'm just filling out the time here for us. So my charming young doctor who's just married my daughter very kindly invited me to his stag early on this year, you know. And, you know, they were off coast steering and what have you. We all met up back at the Eco Pod. So you know the type I'm talking about. And we just started drinking, and they're lovely guys, really lovely guys, you know. And one of them came up and said, "Oh, Steve, you don't know me. I'm Tom. You know, I'm Bobby. Paddy, tell me you're really into music, you know, and you know, what are you into? What have you?" Which is a difficult question, isn't it, to answer? So I just said, "Oh, what are you into, Tom? First, tell me what you're into." And he said, "Oh, we love Mumford and Sons." So, you know, we were sat down at the table, and I wasn't drunk, and I just said, "Look, mate, you know, I'm going to tell you now, and you'll thank me for this when you're older. You know, they are just shit." I said, "This isn't my opinion, so don't shoot me. I'm just a messenger. This is a fact. They're shit. All right. It's, as we've said, music for people who don't like music." But and he was sort of, "Okay, right, okay, you know, and you don't like Coldplay?" I said, "Oh, listen, mate, conversation over." On with the evening, you know, and I woke up the next day and I thought, you know, maybe I was being a little bit disingenuous, a bit unkind to these guys. I don't know them, but now I realise I should have gone in harder, I think, on that one.
So is that another vote? Is that another vote for Hot Gates, Steve?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. My vote was Broad-Shouldered Beasts. Simply for the simple reason that until I've just heard it for the third time this evening and looked at my phone, I thought it was called Broad-Shouldered Bees, which I thought was such a fantastic image, you know. And I was thinking, broad-shouldered bees fill the sky, but you were all wrapped up in wine. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a pretty good lyric, that. But it's not, it's Broad-Shouldered Bees. But that gets my vote.
Number, please. Oh,
10.
you've given us 10. You've given us 10, haven't you? Sorry. Ross.
I'm going to go for 15, 15. And although I was tempted with Snake Eyes, just because I really love the Silver Sun pickups. And
We
that
were
song,
all
got
tempted
that.
by Snake Eyes, Ross.
I'm going
Snake Eyes is...
to have to agree with Steve. It's going to be the Broad-Shouldered Beast for me.
Steve Gibson.
I'm going to give him 2 points for annoying Jerry Damas, and it's got Broad-Shouldered Beast. Yeah, why not? Could be any of them. I don't care. They all sound the same, but if it makes it easy for me to put it on the playlist, then I'll vote with that.
Okay. I'm going to give it 0. So that is 10 plus 10 plus 15 plus 2 plus 0. That gives us 37.
Seb, best song, please.
Best song, mate.
I'm going to say Hot Gates.
So Broad-Shouldered Bees gets it. Yeah.
Broad-Shouldered Beast gets it, or Little Lion King. So 37 divided by 5 gives us a total of 7.4. Now I think
It's got to be.
I have a feeling.
That's a long time.
Do you know what, guys? If I may do so, this is the of the list. Okay, this is Yngwie Malmsteen. Marcus, I don't know if you remember that. Who chose that, Marcus?
Yeah,
but
I'm delighted.
That is our previous bottom score. So this is a you know, one of those occasions where the Question Rum Club we reach a new low, which on this podcast is a genuine low. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, this is our bottom. This is now is in bottom place. This is number 26 out of 26 with 7.4. Wilder Mind by Mumford Sons. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marcus, particularly. Moving on quickly, Steve, it's your choice. Steve Gibson.
Yeah, my choice.
What have you got for us this time?
Firstly, just like to say, for all the Marcus fans out there, they're going to miss him for a few months now because it's unforgivable experience. Sorry, mate, but these things have to happen. I've chosen an album by one of the greats of popular music. I know there's at least one person on the panel who is a huge fan of their important stuff, and they're probably it's one of those things where it's a bit of a sacred cow for some people, so it takes someone from the outside to do it. I respect them massively, and I like the hits, but I've gone for "Summer in Paradise" by the Beach Boys.
That's so harsh, man. That's so harsh. That's so harsh. I'm a massive.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry, but it had to come up at some point.
Okay.
There's a lot to talk about because they're a great band with a great history. And
okay.
Good choice.
Mm. Yeah, I've got it on CD.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is anyone else familiar with sound? Does anyone else know it?
When was it? What sort of year?
What year was it? 90 something?
Late 80s. No, mid 80s, 86, I think, even. I'm not even sure. I'd have to check.
Oh, so we might get some big snare drums and
it's
big synths.
It's mega cheesy. Is Kokomo on that?
I was just going to say it's that Kokomo.
Well, let me see. Let me have a check. Steve, say something while I check it. Can you just say something else about it?
Me, well, it's one of those things where I've heard a couple of tracks off it, and I'm more intrigued to hear next time about how this happened, how this ended up, how they went from what they were to this, and I'm all kind of half aware of the Beach Boys story, but it'll be nice to hear it from some true fans because, well, let's not give it away. When we talk about it next time.
Yeah.
It's still, you'd sort of assumed that there weren't many Beach Boys in it by then, but there were, weren't there?
There were, yeah. This was before Carl died. I think they would always try and get Brian involved at some level.
He's not on this one though, is he?
No.
I don't think he is, no. I'm trying to look up. I can't do it probably.
Next time, we'll save it
next
for
time. We'll do it next time.
Yeah.
Good choice, mate. Good choice. It's going to be painful for me.
Well, someone had to do it.
It's totally fair. It's totally fair. It's a fair game. Absolutely. Right, thanks everyone. That was really fun. Unexpectedly fun. Thank you, Marcus.
Pleasure.
Steve, cheers.
Cheers.
Steve Hackett, thank you very much.
No problem.
And Ross, massive respect for all your Mumford listening, mate.
Thank you very much.
It'll last you well in heaven, mate. When you're in heaven, you'll be. Some people will go, in you come, son, in you come.
Free pass. You've done your time in.
Please like and subscribe. My name is Seth Hunter. Thank you for listening. Please recommend it to all your friends or friend. Goodbye.